What's good,
What's up,
buddy?
buddy? Hanging loose.
Yeah,
Well, that
man.
worked
Another
out. That
week.
worked out just fine, didn't it?
Yeah, working them kinks out, man. It's nice. So it's good to see you again,
Great.
man.
Good to see you. It's we don't chat all week. Maybe a text message here and there, and
Right.
it's good to do that. That way, this is more real like. I mean, it is
Yeah, it's
real
more
like, but
genuine
it's what I'm saying is it's not scripted. It's not edited. It's not this. It's as me and you
right
having a conversation.
and catching up, man. Speaking of catching up, last week you shared a
Yeah.
story. You shared something about casinos, and for the listeners, um, correct me if I'm wrong. It was these casinos out in Las Vegas that got hit by a hacker group. I don't remember the name of the hacker group, but these guys basically shut down everything. They shut down the computer systems. They shut down the casino games. The tenants, or the patrons of the casinos, were locked out of their rooms, and all kind, like a huge
Yeah.
mess. It was costing
Yep.
them a ton of money. What came of that? Was there any update?
So from what I understand is the MGM resorts have lost about $80 million.
Whoa.
And I think I lost you. No, you're back. You're back,
Yeah.
but you just froze. There you are. There you are. Okay, so the MGM resorts, which is the casino, it's not just the casinos in Vegas. Like their whole system was hacked. And from the time we talked about it last week till now, another 7 days. I think it was a 10-day total period. They are back up and running, but it's cost them like $80 million. Now, where Caesar's Palace, they paid these hackers right off the bat. They paid them $15 million and they were back up and running.
So
They're still
Caesars
trying to
is
figure stuff
separate.
out. These people have come out.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Caesars
it was a
is
separate
separate from
ordeal. It was
MGM.
actually
Okay,
before.
gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yep. So they're calling themselves Scattered Spider, right? And that is what it is. So I don't know exactly if they made a payout to them as far as the hackers, if they paid any type of ransom to MGM, but they're stating that Caesars did, and that
Hmm.
MGM has lost about $80 million. It's insane.
So
It's
my
insane.
question is, how do
It's
you
a lot of money.
run such an intricate and let's say, I don't know, well established casino chain, right? It's a franchise. Like, I don't know if it's a franchise, but they have all these. MGM isn't just in one place. I know there's an MGM in Maryland as well. They're all over the place. How do you run such a well established business and still be so susceptible to like any kind of hackings? um, that kind of is a big question mark in my head. Like,
It's
how do you
scary.
not have info security, things like that? Or maybe these hackers are just really
Yeah,
that
it's
good.
it's definitely scary. Um, I actually saw another bits and pieces of it. The hackers got one person's intel. Like they went on to Lycan, I believe the site they use, and they got the guy's name, they got the guy's email address, they got his work
Hmm.
phone number, and all they did was call that number, talk to the secretary, acted as him, right? And said,
Hmm.
"Hey, I lost. I need my password to log in. It's just not letting me log in. Just make sure my password is right. Let me
Wow.
have it." And the person on the other end of the phone gave out the password, and that's all it took. That's all it took.
Wow.
That's how they got in.
Dang. Dang. That's
That's insane.
crazy. Yep. It's the world we live in,
That
man. It doesn't
I
take much.
It is. It is. It definitely is.
So do they know what country these guys are from? Are they here in the US, or are they like Russian, or?
I haven't heard that, or no one said that as far as I know, as far as the research I've done just here in front of me.
That's
They're
wild,
coming up with
man.
a name, Scattered Spider.
Yeah. That's probably Russian. I'm gonna guess.
It could be.
But
It could be.
so last week you
Hope it
started a
ain't us.
segment where we were kind of talking about different metals that are coming out, really cool things that are like being showcased, I guess. What do you got for us this week?
Yeah. Well, I see you have something, so let's see what you got for us this week. I see you got a little something
All
down
right.
below.
All
So
right.
why
All
don't you
right.
show off what you got?
Okay, so this piece is coming from it's actually a community member. And what I mean by community member, this is somebody who's within the precious metals social media community. He's on Instagram, he's on TikTok, he's on Facebook. Most prevalent, he's
Okay.
on Instagram. His name's AG Stacking. His name's Edgar. I think it's Edgar Hoya. And he's, he works with a local bullion dealer that he's got down there. I think he's in Texas, and through his connections,
Okay.
guys, this isn't easy, right? This is not an easy thing to do, but through his connections, he was able to get a country to mint a coin with a design that he's been a fanatic about for some time. And I'm actually a big fan of this image too. So I'm going to share it with you right now. For the
Sure.
listeners, the viewers won't be able to see it, but for the listeners, check this out. This is the image of the winged angel on the Libertad coin. So it's just a cutout of the winged angel. It's a 2-ounce piece, and it's minted by Niue.
Okay.
And it's going to be a 2024. You can kind of see it on the other image on the right. And
I
it
see
actually
their coat
has,
of arms there.
yeah, and it's got his in the channel initials at the bottom, AGS, which is pretty cool. So I'm
AGS, AG stacking. Yep.
right. And in hand, it looks really cool. I don't have one yet. I've got one. I'm actually sending it in for grading. And then I'm gonna have it in
Yep.
hand, and I'll be able to, maybe I'll showcase it down the road a little bit. But it's just such a stunning piece. The detail on it, flawless. It's phenomenal. So I'm a big fan of that.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
man.
like that.
It's gonna be a big premium piece. I think mintage is like, maybe it's either 300 or 500. It's something small. But you got to imagine, for this guy to be able to pull that off, have his design minted through a country. This is an official coin. It's not a bar. It's not like some
Yeah,
generic.
right, right.
It's
No,
kind
it's
of a
official
big
coin,
deal.
and I see that there's a from your video. It's got its own capsule, so it comes
Yeah, man.
encapsulated like
Really neat.
that. So that's, I mean, that in itself is an extra cost to make a capsule like that. I mean, it's
Yep.
not a hell of a lot extra cost, but it's still extra cost. So let's take a guess. It's 2-ounce piece, maybe
Hmm.
limited between 3 and 500.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say anywhere between 175 and $200. And I
That's
don't know the
that's
price of it yet.
So I think your pricing is spot on. Because I'm getting mine graded, it's going to be a little bit higher than that. But my guess is, once it's sold out and once people outside of the stacking community find out that this thing was produced,
Yeah,
and especially that it's an official coin, that's kind of a big kicker right there, and the low mintage. I have a feeling that this piece is going to
yeah.
be a $300 to $500 piece easy. It's just going to take a little while for it to
After
break
grading,
out of the
after grading.
after grading. But again, the
Okay.
folks within the social media community, it's easy for them to find out about this stuff. But once it gets to coin shows, coin shops, things like that, and people find out that this thing exists, I believe the premium on it's going to spike quite a
Yeah.
bit. Put it on eBay, sky's the
And that's
limit.
kind of the way I feel about that's the way I feel about the Spanish Royal Mint bullion that they're coming
Mm,
out with, the 1-ounce coins, the 1/10-ounce coins.
the
That's
gold
just
ones.
there's so few of them. Yeah, the reverse proof gold. There's just so few of them, and it's not like it's well known yet, right?
Right.
Now they're on their third. They come out with the stallion, and there's two more that they have been contracted to make, and it's
And they're
they're
great
beautiful
designs
designs.
too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure.
All right,
No,
what do
that
you
thing's
got
gonna be
for us?
cool. But believe it or not, it's getting close to Halloween. Do you believe that? I mean, we're looking at it's
Oh,
September 21st, so there's still time. There's still a lot of time,
yep.
but I got an email the other day from Monarch Precious Metals,
Oh,
and they do stuff like this every once in a while. I'm gonna bring it up. Let me come back over here. Again, those listening on your car ride, you're not going to be able to see it, but those watching, you're going to be able to check this thing out. But the main thing is you're going to get the times and dates and sites and all that good stuff.
and guys, we're going to put all of
Where'd
these on
it
the
go?
website. So make sure you go check out
Yeah,
cruciblelive.com. You'll see some images of the last week's coin that we discussed. It's on there. These ones will be on there within the next day or two. So if you want to check them out, cruciblelive.com.
So, for those who don't know, Monarch Precious Metals, it's a bullion website. They cast, they pour their own stuff, right? So for 2023 Halloween stuff, and I'm just going to say it now. These are going to sell out quick. This is what happens when sites like this release stuff like this. They're limited to, what is it, 999 pieces, I believe. I'd have to go. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But they're all serialized. They come in their own little Monarch Precious Metals casket. It seems like they're selling some individually, like serial number 666. They're 2-ounce pieces. They got it for sale for $112, debit or credit card. But you come down here towards the bottom, and serial number 1, they've got the price set at $364.
Ooh-wee.
And then number 2, $217. And it goes down from there. And you could save a little bit of money by going with the random serial numbers, just a 2-ounce piece, and then they're baggy. Let me pull that one up. So it'll come with this little crushed velvet baggie. $70. But
that's actually not
something
bad,
different.
Man.
No, but it's something different, especially if somebody's out there and they do have their own little auction or something they do on YouTube. They're doing it early. This is next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, these are going to be dropped on their website, and they're going to go quick. That's where I'm going to leave it. So take it as you will. But if that's something you're into, it's a cool piece in my book.
I agree, man. Those are pretty neat. And they're nice little nuggets, a little 2-ounce piece like that. What I like about those pieces is that you can hold them in your hand and they got nice weight to them. They're kind of cool to play with.
Well, and that's what I like about their 10-ounce bar too. It's a 10-ounce poured bar, and it fits right in your hand real nice.
Yeah.
Almost like a set of knuckles, Yeah. But it's a small, chunky 10-ounce bar, and their logo's all over. They have it kind of matches my logo, but maybe that's where I got the logo idea from. It's tough to say.
So are you sponsored by Monarch?
But they're cool
going on there.
No. But if they're listening,
right? If you're listening, give us a call.
Not yet.
Soon, next week, maybe. So last time we talked about some interesting news stories, and this week I think I want to get into something a little bit different, a little bit more personal, maybe. And you tell me if you want to steer it in a different direction. But I want to talk about. Okay, so I have something to drop in as far as like a slideshow. Here we go. Let me drop this sucker right in here. So you see, for the listeners, explain to them what you're looking at on this slide.
Okay, I'm looking at 4 women lined up, looking like they're from the 50s, and possibly the men the same time era, but they look business. One guy doesn't have a tie. He looks like he's the type of guy that maybe sweeps the streets, But maybe they're not business types, because back then, I mean, this is the way people dress, just normal. Like, people like to look good. They present themselves good. Look where their pants are hiked up to.
Seriously, it's above their belly buttons, man. It's pretty crazy. And I just want to share to the listeners that this is not scripted. I didn't tell Pauly any. I made this little slideshow to kind of like see where his mindset's at on this image, right? Absolutely hit the nail on the head. It is basically classic images of styles and fashion from the 50s, and I'll explain to you why in here in just a second. So I'm going to go to another slide. You're going to tell me what you see, and again, if you can,
them girls had some guess, big calves back then too,
right? If you can guess
walking
the
around
era,
in heels like that,
tell me the era.
That's definitely 80s.
Why is this the 80s? What do you see?
I see big hairdos. Varsity jackets were still a thing, but even like I never owned one. But with the sleeves rolled up on a varsity jacket like that. One guy's in a varsity jacket, one guy's in like a half jean jacket with leather sleeves, and the other guy's in a straight up jean jacket.
Right.
And it's not like flashy, bright colored 80s. This is your classic, the girls on the left here. Maybe it's a birthday party, but that's just, to me, that's what it looks like. If
Shoulder
I'm
pads.
wrong,
Look at them
I'm
shoulder
way
pads,
off.
man.
But yeah, right.
But yeah, big
And
hair, lots of
girl on the
hairspray.
far left, she's tall. She's a tall, and those are flat shoes she's wearing.
So yeah, you're right. This one's 80s. So we're getting a little theme here, right? How about this one? What do you got here?
Uh-oh.
Give me a decade.
Gosh, man, that could be 60s or 70s. It's got to be somewhere in between. The girls. I'm gonna go with 70s.
Right, nail on the head.
Just
You got
because
it.
the guy on the right middle, he almost looks like he should be in the movie Scarface.
Yes,
You know,
yeah,
standing at a bar somewhere.
gigantic lapels on
Yeah.
his. All right,
Yeah.
so again, all right, I'm gonna go a little bit quicker now. What do you got here?
Oh, that's late. Is late 80s.
No. This
And
is so. This is
way off.
I'll give you this one. This one's 60s. So you can see like the dress style on the ladies is like
60s
Jackie
with
Kennedy.
the bright colors like that, eh?
Yeah, this is like Jackie Kennedy style dresses, and the guys too. This is very, I don't even know what that's called.
I
But
see it.
all right, so
Well, this looks like the guys look like they're posing for Old Navy. Is
yeah,
what it looks like to me.
kind of.
That's
All
what threw
right,
me off. Oh
now, these
shoot,
should be
90s,
pretty
bro.
easy. 90s
That's
all the way, right?
90s.
But I did 90s
Yeah.
East Coast, 90s West Coast. So on the left side, you got East Coast. This is the cast of Friends,
Friends, New York,
right? And on the right side is the cast
Yeah.
of what is this 90210, right?
Yeah,
So
Beverly Hills 90210.
so let me
Rest in
bring
peace,
this
Luke
all
Perry.
together, right? Let me bring this all together and tell you why I even put this all together here.
Yeah.
If you saw, let's say on the left side, you got Joey. If you saw Joey walking out like around on the streets, or a guy dressed just like him, would you think twice about his fashion or the way he's dressed? Like,
No,
would it
I
strike you
wouldn't.
that he's out of place? No. But if I went back to
No.
like, I don't know, let's say this image of the 60s and you saw one of those guys walking around, that guy on the far
I'd
right.
definitely say if I saw a guy dressed like that and it wasn't around Thanksgiving time, I'd
or
question
Halloween.
it. Or Halloween. Yeah. And definitely, yeah, the women, because you don't see those bright colors like that for
Right.
any,
Or
on a daily basis.
or
At
even
least where
these
I'm
dresses,
from,
right?
you know?
From the 60s, from the 70s, you can go back to the like these 80s. If you go
Now,
to
I
the
tell you, some of the
Halloween
stuff from the
store,
80s, some of the stuff from the 80s, I do see quite a bit,
some of the stuff, but
around.
a
Yeah.
typical outfit, like these typical outfits that you see, the like this guy in the, like you said, the jean jacket with the varsity
Oh, I've
sleeves
got the
on it.
jean jacket. I can go grab it.
Do you wear it?
I wear it. Maybe she's not listening. I do wear it to annoy my wife. I do. I do. She hates it. She hates it. We went to a store. I saw it, tried it on, and I bought it without even her know. She knew I had it, but she thought I put it back, and I bought it. And then I put it on when I got home, and she was not having it. So, and
All
it's
right,
like the stone wash too. It's not dark. It's that stone
nice.
wash jean look.
The Chuck Norris.
Yeah. it
What
is.
about these Poindexter pants pulled up to your belly button? Would you?
I
Would
don't
you?
think you're ever going to see that again. I don't think we'll ever see that again. That's
So my point
that's
here
classy
is
then.
as it went up in the decades, right? We got to about the 90s, and the 90s is where it started to shift into what we associate as basically normal dress, right? These 90210 characters, some of them are kind of goofy looking, but some of them you could still see people wearing that stuff out today and you wouldn't think twice about it, right?
Sure, the sport coat with the skirt.
Here you got, that was the 90s. This is the 2000s cast of OC. These guys look normal, right? There's nothing really standing out about them.
I'll see this every day walking through my house, guaranteed.
All right. Your kids.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
You got the cast of The Office, or sorry, Parks and Rec, right? Cast of Parks and Rec. This was 2010s, right? And
2010s.
2010s, I mean, 2010s is as far back as like 4 years ago. That's not that far ago. So I didn't
No.
go any further than this right here. But this is just to show that really for the past 20-ish, 25 years, there hasn't really been much change in fashion. But if you look at like between the 50s and 60s or the 70s and 80s, I remember being in the 80s. I remember looking back at photos of my parents and saying, "What the heck were you wearing?"
Yeah.
and laughing about it,
Yeah.
right? And everybody would laugh about
Big
it.
collars. Big
Right. So
collars.
like let's say oh, I don't know. You're looking at oh, what's that show? The Wonder Years, right? The Wonder
Yes.
Years was a show from like the 70s or 80s, but it was made about like the 50s and 60s.
50s
So
and
it was like
60s. Yeah,
it
you'd
was
be right.
flashing back. So you're flashing back to a show 20 years ago. And there's several shows that have been like that. That 70s show, right?
That
That came
70s
out in
show.
what, like the
Yeah.
90s, and it was about the
Yep.
70s.
70s.
So what if there was a show that flashed back to the 2000s? Like that would kind of be weird
What's
because
that going to be?
it's not that different. Like we're basically
No.
in the
And that's
same
probably
era.
why
It
we
hasn't
haven't seen
changed.
it. But
And I don't
if
think it
I
would
have free
happen.
time, I'm watching reruns of Seinfeld, right?
Okay.
Because
All right.
that's something that's classic to me, that it doesn't matter how many times I've seen it, like I can sit down and laugh to it.
Right.
It's just one of those shows.
So let me ask you,
And, that's from the 90s.
when you were younger, and I think you're about my age, maybe a year or two off.
Just turned 40. 40 in
Okay,
July.
so you're a year younger than me. So let's say
That's right.
when you were younger, would you say that your childhood was very different from your kids' childhood, your current
Yes.
children's childhood?
Oh,
Like,
100%.
would you say you lived
100%.
maybe more dangerously?
And yes, simple answer is yes.
All right, what do you
And
got? I
this,
want some examples, man.
well,
Give me some
just
context.
a simple thing was this. Okay, I remember being younger, and I actually wrote down, because you did say you wanted to talk about some older stuff, but I wanted to bring up the where I grew up, right? So
Yeah.
I live between two small towns. Now I want
Mhm.
you to take a guess. Let's just call them small town one, small town two, right?
Sure.
Small town one, how many people do you think, and the population time was April 1st of 2020 is when this came out. These numbers I'm going to give you. What do you think the population of small town one is?
This is small town Michigan.
Small town Michigan.
Okay. 2000.
Okay, what about small town two?
3500.
Okay. Would you be shocked if I told you small town one has a population of 734 people,
Dang.
and small town two has a population of 165 people?
Bro, that's like half of that's 1/5 of my graduating class in high
I
school.
graduated with 65 people in my
Dang.
class. Yeah.
Wow.
So that if people can't, if they can't envision that, then they might not understand some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about. Like we didn't have these. We didn't
Yeah.
have one of these
Yeah, we
things,
didn't have them either.
and we had payphones, and we had a pocket full of dimes, right? And our friends had landlines,
Mhm.
and you would call, and if they didn't answer, you'd leave them a voicemail or a voice message if they had an answer machine, which would,
Right.
back then, a kid got on an answer machine and they said anything they wanted to say, and you could almost probably hear a mother smoking and screaming in the background of it. But you would stand by the payphone waiting for them to call back, right? You going to
Mhm.
pick me up here, or where are we going to meet? And it's the type of place where my curfew was, if you ain't home by the time them street lights come on,
That's
you
right.
ain't going to like the outcome.
Right.
This is the setting I'm in, right? And then walking block to block, you got to figure it's just blocks. It's not miles, and it's not like city blocks where it's just anything you could imagine along the road. We have a couple bars, maybe a restaurant, and then it's just filled with houses, a school. So we'd walk back and forth to certain friends' houses that we had. So that wasn't no big issue. You know, that's the way I grew up. Like today, I I can't do that with my kids because yes, everybody has a cell phone. Yes, everybody has
Mhm.
uh, some type of location, you know, saved on their
GPS,
phone.
yeah. Mhm.
But the world is so crazy that in the back of your mind, you're thinking, if I let this kid go, what's going to happen if someone just picks him up? Now, I don't know if my parents ever thought like that because they were business owners. They actually owned a business in that town. It was a bar and a bowling alley and a
Mm,
restaurant. And they were always busy. And we just walk to the park, play basketball, walk to the friend's house, play basketball, play hockey, whatever.
right,
So from then till now, I'm a completely different person because I don't want to see my kids just disappear, you
right.
know. But as growing up through that small town living, you know, I got to be of age to start partying and drinking and smoking and hanging out with the boys and hanging out with the girls. But our parties were different. Like farmers would blaze trails like this time of year, they're taking corn, they might be taking corn off or whatever. Like they would open up the cornfields, and this is where you'd pull your pickups in and back them up, and you'd dig a hole and have a fire right there in the middle of a cornfield. If
That's
the
cool.
cops showed up, how are they going to find you? You
Right,
take off running in a cornfield. Hopefully, one of your buddies got away and he picks you up in the car, or else you're walking. And all this going on, and parents don't know a damn thing about it unless you got caught and you had to make the phone call from jail and say, "Hey,
right.
come pick me up. They got me. Minor in possession." You know. Um. So that's the setting.
Okay.
My dad owned a farm. My dad owned a farm, and I had a friend that lived down the road around the corner. So this is now, you know, about a mile and a half, 2 miles. Dirt roads are mile roads in town. They're city blocks. Longest
Mhm.
walk I had to a friend's house in town would have been a mile. But when you're out on the dirt roads and you're growing and you're on a farm, you have equipment. You have four-wheelers, you have dirt
Mhm.
bikes, you have tractors. Well, my friend had a four-wheeler. I had what I didn't have as my dad's, but it was a 6x6. So picture a four wheeler, your standard four wheeler,
Right.
but two more wheels behind that, and then like a dump box on it, but not like
Okay.
a gator type, like ride on thing, like a four wheeler. And this thing hauled ass and it sat up off the ground a little bit. So we'd always ride through hay fields. And my friend had a little blaster, Yamaha blaster. He should outright beat me any day of the week on pavement, on gravel, on grass. Well, he can't keep up with me in the hayfield because I'm above the hay and he's
Nice.
down in it riding slow. A few more miles down the road, there's this sand pit, and we're kids, you know, probably 15, 14, 15 years old, whatever it was, 16, so many years ago. And we decide to start climbing some of these dunes with these four-wheelers. Well, he can get up stuff that I can't get up because I'm so much bigger and heavier, and I want to try out his. Well,
Right.
then we both decided to try out mine on one that we just couldn't make it up. But he's like, just put it in six-wheel drive and gun this some bitch and go. So he's behind me, and no helmets, by the way. No helmet. I mean,
Of
I don't even
course
know if
not.
there was a helmet invented, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't even know if there was stickers on them saying, because now I've just bought three four-wheelers for my kids, and they are stickered all over the place with warnings and
Yep.
everything on these
Caution.
things. I
Yep.
don't think we had that.
Yeah.
We get to the top of this hill and it starts to do this.
Oh,
We both held on, and that four-wheeler come down on both our chests and we rolled off. That's something that probably should have really injured us both, but we walked away with a broken windshield on the four-wheeler, which my
dang.
dad is
All
probably
right.
still upset about today. But that was it. Like that's one good one that really knocked the sense into me as far as like first time I was ever scared for my life type thing, you
Yeah.
know, after the
So
fact. Like, dude,
did you
we could be dead and nobody knows where we're at back here. Like we're not even supposed to be here.
right.
And
Right.
like what are we doing, right?
Did you ever tell your dad that that happened? Like, or did you just tell him, "Oh, we were just
I
broke the
told him we
windshield"?
were riding and we hit a bump and I went into the windshield and that's how it got cracked. But nothing else happened to that four-wheeler. Like I said, if you picture a four-wheeler, all plastic fenders and all this stuff, it looked just like a
Mhm.
four-wheeler, just one more set of wheels behind the back wheels, and the back was a big heavy dump box that we used to use for bait and deer, right? We'd fill it for
Right.
corn or sugar beets and drive it out to a spot, dump it out, and go get another load or pheasant feed because we raised pheasants too. Um, but yet, no,
So
I would never
to this day, does he know?
unless he's listening, but I don't even know if he knows how to turn on the TV anymore. No,
That's
no,
awesome,
he
man.
doesn't he doesn't know that story. I mean, he knows how it broke or how I told him it broke, but not that version, you know?
My sister and I sat down with my mom, I don't know, it must have been about a year ago, and we both started sharing stories about our childhood and the things that we got into. So I was a latchkey, single mom raising these kids. So I had to fend for myself because she worked. Probably she came home at like 7 or 8 p.m. every night. Um, but like I'd get home, I'd turn on cartoons for the first couple of hours after I got
Yeah,
home. What was it? Batman animated series, Spider-Man,
sure,
Gargoyles, things like
sure.
that. And I'd make myself dinner. And sometimes I'd be too into my show. There was this one time I was way too into my show, and whatever was in the toaster, it was probably like pizza bites or some crap like that.
Yeah.
Um, Caught it on fire, dude. The toaster
Oof.
was on fire, and I could smell the smoke all the way from the bedroom. And I go running into the kitchen, and I had to like take this toaster and throw it outside the way. I didn't burn my
Now
hands somehow.
you're talking a toaster oven, right? Not
Toaster
like a
oven, yeah.
toaster for yeah,
No,
okay.
toaster
So,
oven.
yeah,
Sorry,
you're
yeah,
right.
I didn't
Boat yay
shove
big.
I didn't shove pizza
Yeah,
bites into
yeah,
the toaster.
I wanted to be sure because,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
never
yeah.
know.
I got you, man. No, the toaster oven, and I chucked it out in the driveway, and that was one time I almost burned the house down. But like to go along with kind of what you were saying, how you would just go off into the cornfields. So we didn't have cornfields; we had forests. The back of my house backed
Yeah.
up to the woods, and my buddy who lived about a block away from me, we used to just go into the woods. They were doing construction back there and clearing out a way for a parkway. Virginia, where I grew up, is mostly clay. So once you dig past like the first, I don't know, 8 to 10 inches of dirt, it's clay. And it's like that
Topsoil then goes
red,
down to clay. Yeah.
yeah, it's that red mud. And after a
Okay.
big storm, that stuff gets real thick. So there must have been like a pit or something that after this rain, it filled up with that mud. And we didn't know. We didn't know what we were doing. So we're walking back there way in the middle of nowhere. Like you said, nobody knew where we were because there weren't cell phones, there was no GPS.
Yeah, yeah.
And we both were walking and we sink into this pit. And at
Oh,
first it
shoot.
started like we were like maybe up to our armpits in it. But there was one point when I was pretty much up to my neck in this mud, and it's like that
Oh.
heavy, sticky, like really thick clay. And I was like, we're gonna die. Like, I don't even know.
Oh, man.
Somehow he managed to like grab a root and was able to pull himself out with a root, and then he got a stick and got me out. But dude, we had it had to be about 25-30 pounds of mud stuck to us.
Oh.
We trudged home in
Oh.
that stuff, man. But I mean, that was living, like surviving was part of growing up in the 90s, I feel.
So did you tell that story then? I mean, you probably almost had to, right? Why you
So
covered in mud here?
no, because my mom didn't get home for hours, so I just took the
Ah,
hose, sprayed off my all my clothes. I sprayed my buddy off, and he went home, and I changed, and by the time she got
yeah.
home, none the wiser, man. And I mean, there was a time with my sister, we went sledding in the back. So again, the forest had hills, so we took the sled back there. I was 8 years younger than her, so I must have been maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old, and she was in her teens. And on the way back, like coming back, trudging up the hill to come back home, um, I stepped on a pine cone with a bare sock, right? Just with my sock, and I was like, oh, I felt a little pressure, and I looked down. I'm like, where's my boot? I had no idea where my boot was. We couldn't find it. She like sprinted me home. My foot was solid. So I probably easily could have lost my foot, but somehow I
Over a
didn't even
pine
get
cone?
no, not over the boot came off, and the only reason I noticed I wasn't wearing a boot was because I stepped on a pine cone. That's what I'm saying. Like I felt that I had stepped on
Oh,
something. It was kind of
yeah.
numb, but I felt it. And then I looked down. I'm like, oh crap, I'm missing a boot. And yeah, so that was I could have lost a foot there. But I'm saying those are those interesting experiences that we all had back in the 90s that the kids nowadays, I mean, they
They'll
kind of
never
don't.
have.
We almost we put them in a bubble. Um,
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And we grow up saying, at least the belief that, okay, we want to give our kids a better life than what we had. Well, I believe we had pretty good lives
right.
as kids, just from two stories being shared, right? We from two different areas, but same kind of situations going on.
Yeah.
So where is it better? Like, I'm not allowing them, and it's not that I'm not allowing them, it's just I don't want to see something happen to them. Like, we used to have tree forts, right? We would
Mm,
go, some of the kids around town, they had these great big silver maple trees in their backyards, and we would build tree forts. And it just so happens that they were next door neighbors, two of them that had these beautiful trees. And we spent time and built these forts. And then one day we decided we're going to have, like a war with, there's apple trees in between these two maple trees
oh,
that
that's
kind of
awesome,
split the
man.
2 yards up, right? So now we're picking up buckets of apples, and we're going to start basically like
Lobbing them.
paintball, but with
Yeah.
apples, right?
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
Well, the one kid, he could rifle. He could fire an apple like it was nobody's business, and he wanted to make him hurt. And it was all fun and games, and we weren't looking to get nobody get hurt.
Right.
Now, it wasn't me personally, but I was there in the tree fort with this kid, and this kid took an apple, and they're not the size of a baseball, right? These are
Sure.
these are small red apples. They're not crab apples. They're just not good eater apples. They're just
Gotcha. Yeah.
apples, whatever. I couldn't tell you the brand or the style of them, but he whipped that apple, and it hit that kid right here, right in his temple, and he was out cold.
Dang.
He was out cold. Now, imagine we're probably 10, 11 years old doing this
Right.
stuff, and there's no parents around. This is during the summer, and everybody's at work, and we have no clue what to do.
Right.
And he's not talking. He's breathing, he's moving. He's just
He's out.
for 5 minutes.
Oh
For 5 minutes,
my
we did not
god.
know, which felt like an eternity. We had
Of
no clue
course.
what to, because there was nobody around. It was six of us hoping that he was going to snap out of this.
Oh my
And that
god.
one kid that threw it went home crying his eyes out because he didn't want that to happen. And he felt so bad. This kid had such, and the kid ended up being fine. He was knocked out, right?
Right.
He was woozy, probably concussed, but we
Right.
never spoke about it. I mean, he went home, and this dude had a goose egg that stuck out on the side of his head. I'm sure his mother was
Oh
asking
yeah.
what happened, but we
That's
never got no
awesome.
phone calls. There was never, Paul, what happened today? Um, so hopefully he did the right thing and just said he fell down somewhere and bumped his head. I'm hoping that's what happened. But dude, that was pretty scary to be that age and not know what is actually going on with this kid, right? There's no
For sure,
training for
man.
that as a kid. Even uh, I couldn't even tell you what the regulations at that time would have been for CPR, right? Like, even
Right.
now today that I'm certified in it because of my
Right.
job, but it's still tough to keep up with how much they change it. What's the best to do with this and that, every damn thing.
Mhm.
But that was crazy. That was another definite scare. Again, I was younger than the
Right.
four-wheeler talk we had.
But I mean, I think even the listeners who are maybe close to our age can kind of concur and
Even a
say that
little bit
they've got
older
similar
and maybe a
stories.
touch younger, sure.
Sure, yeah, a touch younger, right? But I don't think the kids
Not
from today,
much.
and again, I don't know because I think it also depends on where you grew up, how much involvement your parents have, things like
Yeah.
that. Um, but I think the kids who actually like get off their phone and go outside and do stuff, they're the ones who actually have these adventures. And that's really what it is. It's an adventure. I've got you were talking about
Yeah.
warning labels, right? Warning labels on
Yeah, and the
on your
four-wheelers.
four wheelers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Classic.
I was a big nerd when I was growing up. Yeah, I like to go outside and do stuff, and I would get into trouble and whatever. But I also liked. I was a big science geek, and one
Okay.
year for Christmas, I had asked for a chemistry set, and I have no idea where my parents found this thing. This was like it had to be from some other country because this thing had the craziest chemicals
It
in
didn't
it.
come from
They had
Amazon.
Amazon didn't exist, but no, this thing
No.
had like it had a little bottle with a skull and crossbones on it, and I was like,
Yeah.
"All right."
Ah,
So you give that to I must have been 9, I don't know. You give that to a 9-year-old, and I'm gonna put that skull and crossbones in every little chemical thing that I'm mixing, and I'm not following the directions either. Like
yeah.
it'll tell you, like 2 grams of this bottle and 1 gram of that bottle, and it'll make this swirly thing that turns blue. No, I was like,
Yep.
all right, let's use half of this and half of that. We'll put some of this. Let me get some dish soap. I'm gonna put some alcohol in there and just stuff from around the house. I tell you, I burned my carpet with it because some of it spilled and
Oof.
it
Oof.
I don't know what the heck. It turned my carpet into like a layer
Not
of
the
plastic.
shag.
The shag carpet, man. And I mean, last time I was home in Virginia, I was asking my mom about all the stains on the carpet where my room was. She was like, "You did that with your chemistry set." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I did. I forgot about that." Fun times,
That's
man. But I
awesome. She
mean,
still got the same carpet.
dude, she has not changed the carpet. I'm gonna have to do that for her at some point. I
Well,
mean,
cut
it's
the piece
fun,
out and
man.
frame
That's
it. Cut the piece
There
out
you
and frame
go.
it for her,
Show it to my
right?
kids. I'll be like, "That's what the '90s was about."
Yeah. Yeah. Archive it. That's right. That's right.
And you were
Oh
saying
man.
you had something crazy happen recently.
Yeah, man.
Tell
And
me
I know
about it.
we were talking about ourselves and past scares, but dude, just this past weekend, um, our daughter took a trip. So her boyfriend is a heavy machine operator for like local 324 out of Detroit, right? But they have to travel for work. It is what it
Okay.
is. They go where the work is. There's a lot of tradesmen that do it. And I think it's good. He's young and it gives him a chance to get out, see the country, and make some money doing it, right? Well, they're apart. So I forget exactly where he's working right now, but my daughter left by herself to go meet him in like Illinois somewhere or
Mhm.
Indiana, right? And they were going to park his pickup, hop in her car because he had family in Iowa that was having a wedding. So they were
Okay.
going to meet up. They were both driving 3.5 hours to meet and then hop in the one vehicle and go stay in Iowa at this hotel for his family's wedding. No big deal.
And so
And our
real quick
daughter's one, yeah, go
for
ahead,
reference, how old is your daughter?
23,
23. Okay.
23.
Carry
Yep.
on.
And I believe he's got to be about the same age. I don't know. My
Okay.
my oldest, her husband now lied to me. That's a whole nother issue, but whatever.
I did
Um,
that once.
little bastard. Anyways, um, so no big deal. And listen, this is the type of girl who I'm very proud of. Number one, because she's been around her mother forever, right? I mean, just
Mhm.
attached to the hip. And she bought herself a house and moved out of our house, right? It's a huge step. And she
Fantastic.
lives in small town number one. So she moved to
Okay.
that little small town, bought a house there, nice little house,
All right.
lives there, but never goes without sending a text message, good night, FaceTime, never goes without that kind of stuff, right? It's
Excellent.
like clockwork.
That's good.
It's like clockwork. Still at that age, and it'll be that way for as long as we live, right? So me and my wife and kids went on this Halloween trip to my brother's campground. I
Mhm.
posted some pictures on Instagram.
Right.
Um, like a trick or treat through the park. They have it early because the campground closes down. Well, that was a Saturday, and
Okay.
that just happened to be the day of the wedding. Well, we haven't heard from her, and I wasn't thinking nothing of it. They're at a wedding, you know, you're not gonna hear from her. Me and my son sometimes have what we like to have boys' night, right? And that's
Nice.
where we set up and we're chilling on the couch. Like we got the big screen on, we're just hanging out, two dudes hanging out, right? That's how
Good.
we did it that night. We got back and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know if anybody has ever been woken up by their wife or girlfriend or even a kid, and you're in a deep sleep and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And it's not like a hysterical pop, 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 pop. It's just it's this nervous, very,
Mm.
very scared. Paul, I thought I was dreaming. She said it so many
Okay.
times. So I'm up and she tells me, she says, I'm just going to call her number 3 because I don't want to put my kid stuff out there. I haven't talked to
Right.
number 3. She didn't text me. She didn't call me. She didn't, nothing. I haven't heard from her. I've been trying to call her. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Where are they? So we both have our cell phones and I've got her on the Find Me app and my wife's got like a something 24 or live 24 or whatever. Everybody can join in. You can see where they're at and what's going
Hmm.
on. I said, well, it shows her at the hotel. Now I want to put this, I want to stop there and just kind of give you the setting too. So have you ever seen the series on Netflix? It came out a few years ago called Making a Murderer.
I've heard of it. I've heard of it. I never watched it though. Give me a little
Okay,
background on
so
it.
the 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 series itself isn't what I want to talk about. It's the setting. It's like a junkyard, right? This
Okay.
the person that they own this junkyard. Well, where this hotel was in the middle of an area that looked like that because I got her location.
Hmm.
I see she's in a hotel, or at least her phone's there, and you can zoom out and check out the area. First thing we thought is, why would they be staying here, right?
Right.
It's like 2 miles off the expressway. It's not like a major town or anything. This is the only hotel, and I think it was a Days Inn. So it was one of those ones where you got the bottom row. You're not going into a hotel like a Holiday Inn and there's your room. Like the
Right.
top row is the balcony, the bottom row, what I like to call is the no-tell motel, right?
Yeah,
That
I gotcha.
style.
Okay.
Probably rent the rooms by the hour.
Oh my gosh.
Um, but my wife's app is showing her location now, like in the woods behind this hotel is where
Oh,
her little beacon is. Same side of the hotel, but behind the hotel in the woods. And I'm like, that doesn't make no sense. It's, I said, it's here. She's in the hotel. I can see that's where her phone is. Well, she shows me her phone. Well, mine shows her is in the woods. No sleep, dude. We called her phone, his phone. I couldn't tell you how many times. Text messages, um, FaceTimes, Snapchat calls, Facebook
mm,
Messenger calls, everything. And I said, James, they're probably drunk and sleeping. James would be my wife. Um, that wasn't good enough for her at the time, and for me being the father. I'm like, okay, I'm
yeah.
not going to think of worst case. She's already in the worst case scenario, right? That's her mindset. She's in tears. She's hysterical at this point, right? This is at
Right.
2:30 now in the morning. And we call the hotel. No answer. Call the hotel again because on my Find Me, you can click where they're at. There's a hotel, click the hotel, pops up the number, go through the whole spiel. This is front desk. Finally, somebody answers. And without knowing the exact way to say it, I'm going to say he had that Indian. You ever see the show The Simpsons?
Yeah.
The store
Apu.
clerk, Apu.
Yeah. Yep.
This is what the guy sounded like. I
Okay.
don't want to I don't want to say his nationality because I don't know exactly what it is. Doesn't matter. He spoke English, but like
Okay.
Apu.
All right.
This dude was sleeping. He didn't. This is another thing that set my wife off. He didn't answer the phone, hello, days in. He answered the phone simply, hello. And from that point on, she knew something was wrong. She said where they're not staying, wherever they thought they were staying at, they showed up to something completely different, right? Because they had stayed somewhere else Friday night. This was just Saturday night. So she says, I need to know if so-and-so and so-and-so checked in. Well, who are you? She says who she is. Yep, they checked in. It's all the information he would give us. Can you put us through to their room number? Wouldn't even give us the room number. She's saying, listen, I can't get a hold of my kid. I want to know if they're safe. He said, I remember them both coming in. They checked in. They went to the room. This is what he told her. Wouldn't connect us to the room. Wouldn't go down to the room and knock on the door because it was of late hours. And he said they're probably sleeping. Many, many hours later, we're still calling their cell phones. We're still calling both phones. It is now 5:30 in the morning. I said, piss on this. I call a hotel back. I get the same gentleman, right? But now he's even in a more deep sleep. But this time he answered the phone, hello, days in, but sleeping basically, right?
Right.
I said, look, you talk to my wife, and I'm out on the front porch. She doesn't even know I'm making these calls. Because now I'm to the point where I'm not thinking of the worst, but I need to know what the hell is going on.
Right.
I said, look, I'm in Michigan. You're in Iowa. I need to know if there's a silver Buick in that parking lot. I need you to walk to their room number if you don't want to give it to me and bang on that door until somebody opens it up. If you do not do this, the next people who you'll be talking to is the cops, because that's who I'm calling, because we haven't talked to our kid in 12 hours. We don't know where she's at. She's not answering the phone, and you're not any help whatsoever. While all that's going on, I think he's shuffling his stuff. I get a text message. It's number 3. Sorry, we were sleeping. And my wife is screaming from the front room. She's okay. She's okay. She's okay. They were sleeping. I talked to the guy on the phone. I said, look, I apologize if I sounded stern, but I said, we have no clue what was going on.
Right.
You go back to sleep. At that point, at 5:30 in the morning, I don't think I've been as nervous as I've ever been.
As a parent, I could understand why, though. I mean, you had every right to question, especially it's because of the context of the way your daughter is with you, right? She normally reaches out, and in this case, she didn't. She's in a new place. It's strange. It looks weird on GPS. She's not answering. The guy's being shady. That's. I think I would have probably been in my car driving that way.
My wife was crazy. minutes away from driving.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad everything turned out well.
She called. She got an earful. She got home. She got hugs, and we're back to normal life. So, yeah, that was that was a rough couple hours there for a while.
Yeah, I can say, thankfully, I don't recall ever having a scare like that with any of my kids.
I wish it on nobody. I wish that
I
on
imagine.
nobody. Yeah. Now imagine this. Now imagine this. Let's go back to the beginning of our conversation.
Sure.
Imagine that being my kid in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Would I have felt the same? Because right away, I mean, there's no contact in them unless they're going to call you. Yeah. There's no GPS.
No cell phones.
There's none of that. Like,
nope.
I can't imagine how my parents felt when I left the house, right? Because, yeah, they told me what time to be home, but did they say, is he going to be all right or what? Like, we're not nervous when they leave, like to go to car ride and this and that. We just, wish the best that you're safe. Anything and everything can happen on the road that sometimes is out of your control. But imagine if that was in the 80s. You wouldn't have had a way to even contact. I don't know if I'd have been thinking the same way. Like, yeah, they're fine.
Yeah,
They're fine. Maybe they called, we
exactly.
weren't home,
Exactly.
you
I
know?
think I think that's just a mindset shift that's happened over the decades.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Something to think
Yeah,
about.
I'd agree with that.
Cool, man.
Definitely.
All right. Well, that was that about wraps it up, man. We're at time, so
Yeah,
this is
man.
cool. Yeah, we'll do it again next week.
Yeah, brother. We'll see you next week.
I'll see you next week.